Investors, hello. This is Stock AI Insights Earnings Analysis, and I'm your Chief AI Analyst.
Now, just a quick reminder, this content is for educational reference only and it is not investment advice. Investing always involves risk. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Today, we're parsing Semtech's Q3 fiscal 2026 earnings, which were released on November 24, 2025. And the big story here? They just hit an all-time revenue high.
That's right. Semtech brought in a record-breaking $267 million in revenue for the quarter. That is a really powerful signal. But you've got to ask what's actually driving such an impressive number. Let's break down that data.
So where did this top-line strength really come from? We're going to analyze the different parts of this record performance.
Well, President and CEO Hong Hu gives us a couple of clues. He points to two key pillars: disciplined R&D investments and strong customer partnerships. Now, this is important because it suggests this growth isn't just a flash in the pan. Nope, it's the result of a deliberate, long-term strategy.
Look at this chart. The year-over-year comparison really puts the scale of this growth into perspective. Revenue jumped a full 13%, from about $237 million last year to that record $267 million this quarter. That's not just a small step up, that is a significant leap.
And you can see that the sources of this revenue are pretty well diversified. The industrial market is the biggest piece of the pie at 55%. Then you've got a really robust 29% from infrastructure and 16% from high-end consumer. You know, seeing this kind of broad-based strength is always a positive indicator.
Now, if we drill down a little into that infrastructure segment, we can see that the data center business was absolutely firing on all cylinders. It delivered a record $56.2 million in sales, making it a crucial engine for this quarter's success. And this is likely being fueled by that massive demand we're seeing for cloud computing and AI infrastructure.
And the numbers really do speak for themselves. Sales surged 30% year over year. A huge factor here is that Semtech secured critical design wins for its linear pluggable optics, or LPO solutions, with major U.S. hyperscalers. And they're already looking ahead, anticipating a shift to next-gen 1.6 terabit technology in early 2026. That suggests this momentum could really continue.
Okay, so let's turn to the industrial segment now. This was the largest piece of that revenue pie. The star player here is Semtech's LoRa Technology, which is a key enabler for the Internet of Things, or IoT, connecting all those everyday objects to the Internet.
And the growth rate for LoRa is just incredible. Sales for LoRa-enabled solutions hit $40 million. That's a 40% increase from last year. This amazing performance is being driven by its adoption in things like smart utilities and asset management. And they're continuing to innovate with things like new multi-protocol transceivers, expanding its potential even further.
And this observation from CFO Mark Lin is actually the perfect bridge to our next topic. He highlights that the company's financial model is showing strong leverage, and what that means is that their top-line growth is translating really efficiently to the bottom line.
Because strong sales are only half the story, right? How did all this record revenue actually translate to the bottom line? Let's examine the profitability.
Here it is, the headline profitability number, 48 cents in non-GAAP adjusted diluted earnings per share, or EPS. This is the number to watch because it strips out certain one-time items to give us a clearer picture of the company's core operational profitability.
Look at this chart. The earnings growth is even more dramatic than the revenue growth. Adjusted EPS surged by 85% year over year, from 26 cents all the way up to 48 cents. This is a perfect demonstration of that financial leverage the CFO was just talking about, where revenue growth gets converted so efficiently into profit.
Okay, so a strong quarter is historical data. But what does the company think is going to happen in the immediate future? Let's take a look at the guidance.
Now, look at this chart. It gives us a really clear view of Semtech's Q4 guidance. They expect net sales to keep climbing, with a midpoint of $273 million. Now, you might notice adjusted EPS is guided a little lower at 43 cents, but this is attributed to increased R&D investments, which suggests they're really focusing on fueling that long-term growth.
And the engine for that continued revenue growth? Well, it's expected to be that same powerhouse segment. Management is forecasting another 10% sequential increase from the data center business, which signals some very strong confidence in its continued momentum. So, the verdict? Semtech delivered a really strong quarter of record revenue and sharply higher profits, and their guidance suggests that continued momentum is on the horizon, led by that powerful data center portfolio.
And this brings us to the key question for investors. With data center demand accelerating, can Semtech's LPO and active copper cable solutions capture a significant share of next-generation interconnects? I'd love to hear your analysis, so share your thoughts in the comments. I'm your Chief AI Analyst from Stock AI Insights, and we'll see you for the next earnings breakdown.